Mark Jensen had always considered himself a man of routine. Every morning, he would rise at dawn, lace up his running shoes, and jog through the quiet streets of their suburban neighborhood. The rhythmic pounding of his feet against the pavement served as a meditative prelude to his day. After his run, he'd return home, shower, and share a quick breakfast with his wife, Emily, before they both departed for their respective jobs. He is an architect at a mid-sized firm downtown, and she is a marketing manager for a local nonprofit organization. Their marriage, spanning 7 years, had settled into a comfortable cadence. They had their inside jokes, shared responsibilities, and an unspoken understanding that came from years of companionship. While the initial spark of passion had mellowed, Mark believed their relationship was built on a foundation of mutual respect and trust. On this particular Wednesday, Mark's schedule deviated slightly from the norm. A client meeting had been rescheduled to the afternoon, leaving him with an unexpected free hour in the morning. Seizing the opportunity, he decided to visit Brew Browse, a quaint cafe nestled between his office and the bustling downtown core. The cafe had always been a favorite of his, offering a serene ambience and the best espresso in town. As he pushed open the glass door, the familiar chime signaled his entrance. The rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans enveloped him, and the soft hum of conversations created a comforting backdrop. He approached the counter, exchanged pleasantries with the barista, and ordered his usual, a double shot of espresso with a hint of steamed milk. With cup in hand, Mark scanned the room for an empty seat. The cafe was moderately busy, with patrons engrossed in their laptops, books, or conversations. As his gaze traveled to the corner of the room, he felt his breath hitch. There, seated at a small table by the window, was Emily. She was leaning slightly forward, her eyes locked onto the man sitting across from her. Her smile was wide, genuine, the kind that reached her eyes and made them sparkle. The man, a tall, well-dressed individual with a neatly trimmed beard, reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. Emily didn't pull away. Mark's heart pounded in his chest. A surge of emotions, confusion, betrayal, anger, washed over him. He felt rooted to the spot, unable to move, as if the world had tilted on its axis. The man looked vaguely familiar, and after a few moments of strained recollection, Mark realized why. It was Ryan Mitchell, Emily's ex-boyfriend from her college days. She had mentioned him in passing over the years, always in a dismissive tone, assuring Mark that their relationship had ended amicably and was firmly in the past. Yet, here they were, sharing an intimate moment that seemed to contradict everything Emily had ever told him about Ryan. Mark's mind raced with questions. Why was she meeting Ryan? Why hadn't she mentioned it? Was this a chance encounter, or something more deliberate? He considered confronting them right then and there, demanding answers in the middle of the cafe. But a deeper instinct urged caution. Causing a scene wouldn't provide the clarity he sought. Instead, he took a deep breath, turned on his heel, and exited the cafe, his espresso untouched and forgotten on the counter. The walk back to his office was a blur. The city buzzed around him, cars honking, pedestrians chatting, the distant wail of a siren. But it all felt distant, as if he were submerged underwater. His thoughts were a whirlwind, each one more troubling than the last. Had he been blind to signs of dissatisfaction in their marriage? Were there late nights or unexplained absences he had dismissed as trivial? The foundation of trust he had so firmly believed in now felt like it was built on shifting sands. Upon reaching his office, Mark closed the door behind him and sank into his chair. He stared blankly at the architectural blueprints spread across his desk, the lines and measurements blurring together. Work, which had always been his refuge, now offered no solace. He knew he couldn't let this fester. Communication had always been a cornerstone of their relationship. He needed to talk to Emily, to understand what he had witnessed, and to determine the path forward. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over their home, Mark sat in the living room, nursing a glass of whiskey. The amber liquid burned his throat, grounding him momentarily. He heard the familiar sound of Emily's car pulling into the driveway, followed by the soft click of the front door opening. "Hey, honey," Emily called out, her voice cheerful as she set down her bag and kicked off her heels. She entered the living room, her smile faltering slightly when she saw his somber expression. "Everything okay?" Mark gestured to the seat across from him. "We need to talk." Emily's brow furrowed with concern as she sat down. "What's going on?" He took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I saw you today, at Brewbrow's, with Ryan." A myriad of emotions flickered across Emily's face: shock, guilt, apprehension. She opened her mouth to speak, but hesitated, as if weighing her words. Mark Jensen sat alone in the dimly lit living room, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound breaking the silence. The events of the day replayed in his mind like a relentless loop, each repetition deepening the chasm of doubt and confusion within him. He had always believed that trust was the bedrock of his marriage to Emily, but the sight of her with Ryan at the cafe had sent tremors through that foundation. As the front door creaked open, Emily stepped in, her face illuminated by the warm glow of the hallway light. She looked weary, her shoulders slightly hunched under the weight of the day. Noticing Mark's contemplative posture, she offered a gentle smile. "Hey, you're up late," she remarked, setting her bag down by the entrance. Mark nodded, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd wait up for you." Emily approached, concern etching lines on her forehead. "Is everything okay?" He gestured to the seat beside him. "We need to talk." She hesitated for a moment before settling down, her eyes searching his for clues. "What's on your mind?" Mark took a deep breath, the weight of his discovery pressing heavily on his chest. "I saw you today, at Brewbrow's, with Ryan." A myriad of emotions flickered across Emily's face: surprise, guilt, apprehension. She opened her mouth to speak, but seemed to grapple with finding the right words. "Why didn't you tell me you were meeting him?" Mark's voice was steady, but the undercurrent of hurt was unmistakable. Emily sighed, running a hand through her hair. "It wasn't planned. I ran into him unexpectedly. We got to talking, and he suggested grabbing a coffee to catch up." Mark raised an eyebrow. "And holding hands? Laughing like old times? That didn't seem like just catching up." She looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her blouse. I don't know what to say." Seeing him brought back a flood of memories. It was nostalgic, but I didn't mean for it to seem intimate. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Mark's mind raced with conflicting thoughts. He wanted to believe her, to trust that this was a mere lapse in judgment. But the image of them together gnawed at his resolve. After what felt like an eternity, he spoke, his voice measured. "I think we should have him over for dinner." Emily's head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. "What? Why?" "I want to meet him. Understand the dynamic between you two. Maybe ITLL put my mind at ease." She hesitated, clearly torn. "Mark, I don't know if that's a good idea." He met her gaze, determination evident. "I think it's necessary. For both of us." The following day, Mark found himself pacing his office, the pristine blueprints on his desk ignored. He had obtained Ryan's contact information from Emily, who had reluctantly agreed to the dinner. With a deep breath, he dialed the number, each ring amplifying his anxiety. "Hello." Ryan's voice was smooth, with a hint of curiosity. "Yun. This is Mark Jensen, Emily's husband." A pause. "Oh, hi, Mark. What can I do for you?" Mark cleared his throat. "I was wondering if you'd like to come over for dinner tomorrow evening. Around 7? The line was silent for a moment longer than comfortable. "That's unexpected. May I ask why?" "I believe it's important for us to meet." To clear the air, Ryan exhaled audibly. "All right, he'll be there." The call ended, leaving Mark with a whirlwind of emotions. He had taken the first step toward confronting the situation, but uncertainty loomed large. As the evening sun cast elongated shadows across their living room, Mark and Emily prepared for their guest's arrival. The table was set meticulously, the aroma of roasted chicken wafting through the air. Emily moved through the motions mechanically, her mind clearly elsewhere. At precisely 7, the doorbell rang. Mark opened the door to find Ryan standing there, a bottle of wine in hand, his demeanor a mix of confidence and apprehension. "Come in," Mark offered, stepping aside. Ryan entered, his eyes immediately seeking out Emily. She offered a tentative smile, which he returned. The trio settled around the dining table, the clinking of cutlery against plates punctuating the heavy silence. Small talk was attempted, but quickly fizzled out, leaving an oppressive tension in its wake. Finally, Mark set down his fork, looking directly at Ryan. "I saw you two at the cafe." Ryan shifted in his seat. "Mark, I assure you, it wasn't what it looked like." Emily interjected, her voice trembling. "We were just reminiscing. It was a mistake to meet him without telling you." Mark nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty, but I need to understand if there's anything more I should be concerned about." Ryan leaned forward, sincerity evident. "I respect your marriage. I won't contact Emily again." The evening air hung heavy with unspoken words as Mark, Emily, and Ryan sat around the dinner table. The clinking of silverware against porcelain punctuated the silence, each sound amplifying the tension that had settled over the room. The aroma of roasted chicken and herbs, usually comforting, now seemed out of place in the charged atmosphere. Mark cleared his throat, breaking the uneasy quiet. "So, Ryan," he began, his voice measured, "how have you been? It's been a while since we've crossed paths." Ryan offered a polite smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I've been well, thank you. Work has kept me busy." Emily shifted in her seat, her gaze fixed on her plate. The weight of the situation bore down on her, making the simple act of eating feel laborious. Mark set down his fork and knife, folding his hands together as he leaned slightly forward. "I think we all know why we're here tonight," he said, his eyes moving between Emily and Ryan. Emily's breath caught in her throat, and she finally looked up, meeting Mark's gaze. "Mark, she began, but he raised a hand to gently interrupt. "Please, let me finish," he said softly. "I saw you two at the cafe yesterday. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I felt it was important for us to address this openly." Ryan exhaled slowly, setting his utensils down. "Mark, I understand how this must look, and I apologize. Emily and I ran into each other unexpectedly. We decided to catch up over coffee. There was no ill intent." Emily nodded, her eyes pleading. "It's true. I should have told you, Mark. It was a lapse in judgment on my part, and I'm sorry." Mark studied them both, his expression unreadable. He wanted to believe them, but the image of their intimate interaction at the cafe was seared into his memory. "I appreciate your honesty," Mark said after a moment. "But I need to understand. Was there anything more to your meeting? Any lingering feelings?" Ryan shook his head firmly. "No, absolutely not. We've both moved on with our lives. Our conversation was purely platonic." Emily reached across the table, her hand covering Mark's. "I love you, Mark. Our life together means everything to me. I would never jeopardize that." Mark felt the sincerity in her touch, the warmth of her hand grounding him. He nodded slowly, the tightness in his chest easing slightly. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's put this behind us and move forward." The rest of the evening passed with lighter conversation, the earlier tension gradually dissipating. By the time Ryan left, there was a sense of closure, an unspoken agreement to leave the past where it belonged. Later that night, as Mark and Emily prepared for bed, she turned to him, her eyes searching his. "Thank you for trusting me," she whispered. He pulled her into an embrace, holding her tightly. "We'll get through this together," he replied. And as they lay in the darkness, the distance that had momentarily crept between them began to fade, replaced by a renewed commitment to their shared future. In the weeks following their candid dinner with Ryan, Mark and Emily embarked on a journey of rebuilding the trust that had been momentarily shaken. Their relationship, once a sanctuary of unwavering faith, had encountered a tremor that neither had anticipated. Yet, it was in the aftermath of this disturbance that they discovered the depth of their commitment to one another. Mark found himself reflecting on the nuances of trust and the resilience of love. He realized that trust was not a static entity, but a dynamic process, requiring continuous effort and understanding. Emily, too, delved into introspection, acknowledging the importance of transparency and open communication in nurturing their bond. Together, they decided to seek couples counseling not as a sign of weakness, but as a testament to their dedication to each other. The sessions provided a safe space for them to express their fears, desires, and expectations. They learned to listen actively, to empathize, and to articulate their feelings without reservation. One evening, after a particularly enlightening session, they took a stroll through the park where they had first met. The memories of their initial encounters came flooding back, reminding them of the foundation upon which their relationship was built. As they sat on a familiar bench, Mark turned to Emily, his eyes reflecting sincerity. "Emily," he began, "this experience has taught me that love isn't just about the good times. It's about facing challenges head-on and growing together through them." She nodded, a tear escaping down her cheek. "I agree, Mark, and I promise to be more open with you, to share my thoughts and feelings, and to never let anything come between us again." Their hands intertwined, a silent vow passing between them. The past was a lesson, but the future was theirs to shape. In the months that followed, their relationship flourished anew. They rediscovered the joy in shared experiences, from simple morning coffees to spontaneous weekend getaways. The shadow that had briefly loomed over them dissipated, replaced by a renewed sense of partnership and mutual respect. Mark and Emily's journey was a testament to the idea that love, when nurtured with patience and understanding, could weather any storm. They had faced a challenge that tested the very core of their union, but through open dialogue, empathy, and unwavering commitment, they emerged stronger, their bond fortified by the trials they had overcome together.